Well, hey, this is Dammit, and here's my report for the ceremony conducted on Saturday, June 19th, 2021.
I'm an alligator. I'm a mama, papa coming for you.
It left a little something to be desired. It wasn't the worst ceremony I've ever had, but it was far from the best. And that was due almost entirely to one factor, which is I decided as an experiment to try working with 250 micrograms of LSD as opposed to my standard dosage of X grams of mushrooms plus Syrian rue. I just wanted to see if I could do phonomancy with something else. And the answer is no, at least not with acid. For one thing, it wasn't nearly as visual as I thought it was going to be. I remember acid being stronger when I was in college, but maybe that was just because I had my eyes open and I was, walking around and could see everything ripple and the hieroglyphs, raise up on lawns and things like that. But I didn't see too much, and much more importantly, I didn't feel anything, which in the beginning was a good thing. In the early stages of the ceremony, there was absolutely no fear or anxiety. There was just a sort of a growing rush of energy that was something to work with and sort of work against, because I was in pretty uncertain ground. I haven't used LSD in decades, so I wasn't sure how hard it was going to come on or what I was going to be dealing with, and like I said, it turned out to be fine. But after a certain point in the stereo myth, I realized I'm not going to be able to access these emotions that are the vehicle that I use to approach the sacred. And as soon as I realized that, I didn't want to do it anymore. But of course, I was in for another good 6 or 7 hours. And so that was a matter of, I had to control my my disenchantment, which could have easily sort of started to spiral into despair. Yeah, but I was able to do it, and I got through it. But it was so marked by that. I just couldn't believe it when I was doing the Anne Frank working. I didn't feel a thing, really. Beyond a certain glumness, but it really just, I missed the target entirely, and I certainly won't be doing that again. I don't think that has a place in my pharmacopoeia. There was one good thing, which was that because my housemate is out of town, I was able to sing along to the songs while working in my room, not loudly, but loud enough to feel it. And I will say this, that the LSD enabled me to do stuff with my voice that I could not normally do. It was far more supple, and my vibrato was really good, and range was easy. Everything just sort of all came together in this way that it just normally doesn't. But then again, I haven't sang along to these songs in such a long time. It's been almost a year and a half, and that is so in a way I've been fighting with one hand tied behind my back this whole time. So that was great, and I look forward to in the future getting to work in a full sound environment with my PA going and everything. Because I wasn't busy having visionary experiences, I wasn't constantly getting on the camera to narrate things that I had seen or been thinking about. I was able to really follow the flow of the shamanic cabaret, all the narrative parts, and I remain convinced that it's absolutely wild and super effective. In a group environment, if I could get a small group of people who knew what they were in for to simply go through the show, watch the show with me, not performing it, but doing it with them, and then watching the narratives and following the story, and you sort of absorbing the metaphysical ideas that are conveyed therein, they would have a tremendous time. But who knows if and when that is ever going to happen. I gotta say that I am pretty down today, or at least I feel all right now, but I mean, I've already been up. It's only 9:30 or 10 o'clock in the morning where I am right now, and I've been up since 4, and really had a lot of doubt gnawing at me. I think I'm in a serotonin depleted state. That's pseudoscience coming from me. I have no idea what my brain chemistry is doing, but I have a feeling that down mood has something to do with that, you know. But part of that is just not being able to access that sacred energy. It was difficult to stay on my feet dancing the whole time. I'd really come to take for granted how much my actions are powered by accessing that kind of supernatural spirit, for lack of a better term. And without it, it was really just me on my own. And that's no fun. The point of this stuff, as I keep reiterating over and over and over again, is to find a way for people to come together and create an experience that is far more intense than anything they could ever do on their own. That is an idea whose time is coming, even if people don't know it yet. I've just been reading a book called Recapturing the Rapture by Jamie Wheel, who wrote a book called Stealing Fire. And it's all about what he calls hedonic engineering, which is using different things like breath work and music and psychedelics and sex and whatnot to create a new experiences of meaning that he thinks that we are going to need in order to withstand the existential crises that humanity is facing over the next decades and centuries. And I remain absolutely convinced that entheotainment, that model, is a working prototype. I mean, in the Shamanic Cabaret, which is my initial entheotainment, I have a working model for exactly what he is trying to feel his way towards. How I get that message across to people, how I convince them, you got me, man. I'm doing my best. I make these videos. I'm training and training and training. And I'm waiting for a moment that may never come, or it may come tomorrow. I just don't know. That there's going to be something that will change. All of a sudden, there'll be somebody smart and motivated who catches wind of what I'm doing, and it fires their imagination, and they want to get involved, and together we can take it to the next level. Or I get my hands on some resources and I buy my way to credibility. I don't know what it looks like. But at the same time, as it's not showing that those opportunities aren't showing up, I have to maintain my faith and persist in the face of the overwhelming refusal of everyone I know virtually, the exception of one friend who remains a sympathetic observer, and the rest of the world to grant that there's anything to this stuff at all. I just want to state for the record, it's a very difficult thing to be sane, which I am. Although if you have to continually assert your sanity, maybe there is some question. To be sane and to assert that there is a different reality available than the one we're currently living in, and have the whole world saying, we don't want it, and you keep insisting, but you're gonna need it, you are. And just because there's just a huge cost of alienation. There's a huge personal cost, which I am willing to pay on the off chance that it will make a difference somehow. The problem is that when you are so truly isolated from the rest of your society, you are prey to depression. And depression can be a terminal disease. Depression can kill you. And I have this shamanic model, this shamanic psychology that I'm trying to evolve, and basically states that a lot of what we take to be mental illness is symptomatic of attacks by entities or spirits or whatever you want to call them, some kind of parasites or predators that live in consciousness, and they attach themselves to your consciousness, and they feed on your fear and doubt, and they kind of take over your cognitive apparatus and make it very, very difficult for you to see things as they truly are. You see things through like a lens darkly. I can misquote scripture there. And it comes in waves. You know, like in the middle of the night, you'll just wake up and you will be inundated with anxiety, and you have to somehow find your way through it. And it passes. They pass. You know, like I said, this morning I was dying and now I feel all right. The danger is when you're on your own and you don't have anybody to sort of like look you in the eye and say, hey, you're going to be okay, and I believe in you, and you can get through this. That you can get so uncomfortable in your own skin and so sort of maddened by this constant goading that you'll finally slip and do something you can't take back. It's a sobering thought. And the longer I'm on the outside and without anything going right, the more that possibility looms. You know, and that's the thing that oppresses. There are lots and lots of people, especially in midlife, there are lots of people who you can feel the sum of your decisions closing in on you, and you watch the possibilities of your life collapse one by one by one by one by one until you're really left with, well, hopefully, some people are left with nothing. I'm lucky at least in that I have this incredible animating idea, this vision for the future, this plan to bring people together, to give them incredible, indelible experiences of this aspect of reality they don't even suspect exists, and then help them build communities out of training for getting better at accessing those things. That idea is so wonderful to me that when I'm not overwhelmed by despair, it gives me something to live for. Like I said, that's something. It's better than nothing. So where does that leave me now? Well, that was my ceremony for this month. I actually did it a week early because I'm going to be visiting family next week and I won't be able to do it then. But now I have to go without that recharge of energy, that nourishment of my spirit that I get even when the ceremonies don't go 100% perfectly. You know, I still get something out of it, and I didn't get anything this time. And I guess I'll just train up harder. I really, you know, I was prepared for this one. I've been meditating a lot, working out hard, watching my diet, getting enough sleep. I've definitely been a little bit assaulted by some dangerous moods, but I thought I had that well in hand, and I did. That stuff didn't overwhelm me at all during the ceremony. So I think I just gotta keep going what I'm doing what I'm doing, and you can't let that doubt when a ceremony doesn't go well. You can easily develop the fear that it's never gonna go well again, and that leads to despair. So I've had bad ceremonies before. This time last year I had 3 in a row that almost broke my back, but I came back and I had some of the best ones ever this year. So I'm relatively certain that when I get back on that horse in July, then I'll find my way back to spirit. All right, and that's that. This is Dammit signing off and reminding you, if you say yes to any pleasure in life, you have to say fuck yes to every pain as well. Do it for your ma.
I'm an alligator. I'm a mama, papa coming for you.